I may not know what you did last summer, but I know what you did this summer. And that was disappoint the shit out of me with the requel, sequel, reboot, follow-up, whatever the f*** for the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. Let's dissect it. Welcome back to The Garage, guys. Gerald here with you. As a huge fan of horror in general, but I love the schlocky teenage thriller horror fest that we got in the mid to late 1990s, which of course was catapulted by Scream in 1996. And following not even a full year after was the original I Know What You Did Last Summer, starring, of course, Jennifer Love Hewitt.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Man, what an image. And Freddie Prinze Jr., among many other players like Ryan Phillippe, and of course, the diva queen herself, Sarah Michelle Gellar, our croaker queen, if you will. I'm not going to give you a review of the 97 film, and I'm really not even going to try to compare this review for the 2025 version to that film. I'm just going to break down why this new iteration did not work for me nearly as much as the original did. When 5 friends inadvertently cause a deadly car accident, they cover up their involvement and make a pact to keep it secret rather than face the consequences. No, I'm not reading the synopsis from the 97 version. That is the one that's on LETTERBOXD for the new one. I didn't click on the wrong movie, did I? It stars a host of young, up-and-coming actors and actresses. The only ones I really knew by visual connecting the dots was Madeline Klein, who I saw a couple years ago in Glass Onion, and the other one would be Tyreek Withers. I don't really know any of his work, but I do know that he is the lead star in the upcoming Jordan Peele-produced kind of sports horror film called Him. I'm going to make this quick. The reason this movie doesn't work for my demographic, or I don't suspect that it would, and why it didn't work for me, is because I am connected to the original from 97. I know the story. I know the sequels that came after that in the 4 or 5 years after the original was released. But the Last Summer franchise has never been able to get back to the magic from the first film. And it happens, unfortunately, here again, 28 years later. Oh my God, that was a release I didn't like this year either. Am I being watched? Now, if a new generation comes into this franchise and they don't watch any of the ones before it, and this is their introduction to the franchise, it could be enjoyable. I could see that happening. The kills in the movie are inventive. They're actually, frankly, a lot cooler than the kills we got in the original. But I think that also is heightened by the 28 years worth of technology, digital effects, and just Hollywood's gotten more bloody and more gory with a little less reins on the filmmakers. You know, you can think of a series like Terrifier that Damien Leone has done. I mean, this is nothing compared to that. This is like Saturday morning cartoons with your Fruity Pebbles compared to the Terrifier films. The opening scene in this movie, or the opening act, I should say, is essentially the exact same carbon copy from the original, and I don't feel like I'm giving anything away. This is a spoiler-free review. The only difference is, instead of them hitting somebody, a pedestrian with the car, they run a car off the road, basically. And it's high cliffs, the car goes off the road, the driver presumably dies, and now they're in the I Know What You Did Last Summer scenario. All the same stuff, leaving the notes, I know what you did last summer. They even did the You're Next in fog on the shower door. I mean, it was like no fresh, inventive, original concepts introduced in this film. It was like, what did the first one do really good? Okay, let's redo that, basically the exact same fucking way, with new, fresh, hot teenagers in these roles. Is that cool? You guys want to do that? We'll make $1 billion. Let's do it. I feel like that was the conversation. And then let's talk about some of these legacy characters, because I mentioned Jennifer Love Hewitt in the opening. She was popular before I Know What You Did Last Summer came along, and before the late 90s. But that definitely turned her into a scream queen, some would say. A final girl, perhaps. Freddie Prinze Jr., who played Ray in the original films, comes back here. He's still living in the town of Southport, where he lived through all of these tragedies. I won't give away any of the storylines, because I can't remember exactly what they reveal in the trailer, so I don't want to do that for you. But basically, those characters are reunited, Julie and Ray, after being estranged for many years because of the tragedy and having to relive the memories of all that and the trauma. Of course, our dearly departed Helen Shivers has left the world. But these characters kind of come back in one way or another. Some are more prominent than others, and there's literally no point for them being there, with the exception of one of them. I am going to tell you that a huge negative for me was having Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Sarah Michelle Gellar, even though it's in flashbacks for the most part, in this movie, because it's obvious to anybody with common sense watching this, if you're critiquing the film, that the reason they are in that film is for the connectivity to the original films, the first couple movies. they don't need to be here for the plot, particularly Julie James and Jennifer Love Hewitt's attachment to the film. She does nothing. She gives narration, she gives some exposition, and she basically tells the characters, Madeline Klein and others, why they should focus on what she focused on back in '97 to figure out who the killer is and to figure out what his connection to the car accident is. You didn't already know that? Like, of course, that's what we're going to do. Otherwise, we're just waiting here for this guy to show up with a fishhook and kill us. So her role was extremely underused and was like pointless, which is a bummer because I love her and I love that character. I told you guys last time I'm breaking up my movie reviews to give you my overall score out of 10 by doing a score for the craft, which would basically be anything in the technical aspects of the film, and then the crux, which is going to be the story, the performances, all the kind of like tangible things that we see on camera. The craft of the film, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's nothing spectacular in this movie. There was a couple really cool shots that stuck with me, like the scene with Danica in the bathtub and she uses the blood red bath bomb, which was a little possibly on the nose there, but it is a really cool visual. The crux of the film, I'm going to give a 3 out of 10, which is not good. And I think I explained why. It's just too much of a regurgitation. There's nothing new here. And the reveal in the film, which obviously I'm not going to talk about in this video because that would be heavy spoilers, was stupid. I didn't like it. It might work for some people. It just didn't work for me. And there's actually a joke made in the movie about, let's stop this Scooby-Doo bullshit. And I think that was a self-aware comment written into the screenplay because that's actually what it felt like in the final act of this movie, is that we were pulling masks off of people and, you know, it was literally like an episode of Scooby-Doo in the last like 10 minutes of the movie. And then there is a mid-credit scene too at the end of the film. So stick around for about 2 or 3 minutes of the credits and there will be a mid-credit scene. So overall, with the craft getting a 6 from me and the crux getting a measly 3 from me, that would be a 4.5, but I'm going to round up on these. I'm not going to do half points. So the new I Know What You Did Last Summer is going to get a 5 out of 10 for me. I do not recommend it. I would much rather recommend to you to do a double feature and go watch the original from '97, and I Still Know from 1998. Those two films back to back would be a much more enjoyable experience than this one was for me. What did you guys think of the new iteration of I Know What You Did Last Summer? Have you seen it or are you planning on seeing it? And how did it hit with you if you love the original film? I would love to know that as well. Thanks for tuning into this movie review, guys. I will see you out here next time in the garage.